Property Elevator is proudly sponsored by Crowd Property.
Hello and welcome to Series 4 of Property Elevator. In this show, we give budding developers the chance to pitch their deals to our 5 seasoned property professionals, or who we call our property investment angels. These are John Howard, our chair angel, Helen Chorley, our number cruncher, Nicholas Wallwork, our creative thinker, Paul Mahoney, our investor from Down Under, and Ranjan Bhattacharya, our YouTuber. Now, we know that property is not a game for the faint-hearted. With hundreds of thousands, if not millions of pounds at stake, yes, the rewards can be great, but if it goes wrong, it can go very wrong very quickly. This is why it's fantastic that not only could you walk away with the financial backing of one of our angels, but you also get their expert knowledge, which we know is just as important. So with that being said, let's do some deals.
Is it on the market, off the market? How have you found it?
Can I just ask about the source of that fund?
That's what you should be doing before you even exchange, in my view.
I think the overall profit is too tight.
But you can't work it out on that because that isn't your total cost.
Hello and welcome to episode 4 of Series 4. We've already had so many deals happen over the course of the last few episodes. Let's see if we get any more today. So Thomas, welcome to the show.
Hello Lizzie, happy to be here.
Great, it's great to have you. Tell us where you've come from today.
I've come from Surrey, from a place called Hawksbeck.
Okay, and a little bit about your property background.
I've been building and renovating properties for more than 20 years, part-time.
Okay.
But I moved into property development full-time a year ago.
Great, okay, so that's exciting. What was your job previously?
I was a corporate executive for more than 20 years in Hungary, Germany, UK, Russia, UK again, and then I moved into property full-time.
Right, so Europe, pretty much.
I've been around.
Yes, you have.
I think we're going down to Kent next. There's Kent and Kent, isn't there?
Very good.
We've got to see which part of Kent it is. Let's get him in. Hi Thomas, thanks for coming in today. Looking forward to hearing about your deal.
Good afternoon, angels. My name is Tamás, and I'm here to present you one of our deals subject to planning. The main parameters of the deals are as follows. The property is in Ashford, close to Ashford, less than 16 minutes drive. GDV is 3.6 million. The total project cost is 2.82 million. We're expected to make a gross profit close to £800,000. The total project cost certainly includes the purchase of the land for £590,000, and your expected return on your investment we're asking for is 29%. My business partner and I, we are ex-corporate executives. I renovated and built properties part-time for more than 20 years. Since early 2021, we moved full-time into property development. This site has been included in the adopted plan of Folkestone and Hythe Borough Council. The planners designated the site for residential development, and the forecasted and expected volume that we can build there are 5 dwellings. The neighboring part of Brookland is in conservation area. Our architects and a local planning consultant will design a scheme that the planners will welcome. We will create an enviable residential experience in that highly desirable place. It has amazing amenities. It will back on the village. It will look out to open fields, and yet Ashford's amenities are only 16 minutes drive. Such amenities include one of the most prominent designer outlets in the UK, Ashford International Train Station, with more than 200 trains to London, St Pancras, Waterloo, Liverpool and Waterloo stations. And of course, the Eurostar to Paris, La Vie Parisienne. My business partner and I offer you to participate in this investment subject to planning. This means we will finance the exchange, we will take on the risk of obtaining planning. After gaining planning, and only then, you will contribute with your investment. In the investment memorandum, I provided you with a finance scenario. That is only an option. We are open for alternative arrangements. I'm here because of you and because of us. I would like to work with you. If this deal is not meeting your risk-reward appetite, I would be also happy to source other deals and discuss other deals with you. Hopefully you don't mind if I paraphrase Coppola's Godfather. I hope one day I will offer you a deal you cannot refuse.
I'm interested to know what state the deal's in at the moment. Have you got an offer in, or is it just on the market, off the market? How have you found it?
The deal is so imminent. If I was not here, I was reading, the final copy of the contract and the reports and the surveys that is in my inbox.
So you have it ready to exchange any day, basically?
It is basically, we just have to approve the final contract. We have to approve the exchange, send in, the deposit, fully refundable deposit, by the way. Great. And then the deal is ours.
Okay, looks like a good plot on the edge of a village. So
it is.
Have you, in terms of your planning research so far, how far have you got with that in terms of that viability that you just mentioned? Is it in a sort of designated development area? Can you give me a bit more information about how far you've got with that?
So basically, this is currently outside the cartilage of the village, Brookland. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But as I mentioned, the planners lifted this property, what you see in the documentum I provided, into the adopted plan, and there is clear evidence that they would welcome, high quality design houses.
It's zoned anyway.
It's zoned basically. It's going to be the new zone.
So Nicholas, you haven't got to worry about that.
That's good. Why is the land? I'm looking at the picture on screen there to the sort of northwest of it, which appears part of the same plot.
Because at the moment it's on the same title.
On the same title, and so why is it owned by a farmer? Who's the current landowner?
It is.
And why are they selling just this part?
It is owned by a retired lady who retired to Italy.
Right.
And although we don't have any written agreement on that, she also indicated that if we successfully, obtain planning and close this deal, complete on it, she would be willing to sell us the rest of the property at agricultural land price.
I'm sure that won't happen. She wants to see if you succeed.
Hope dies last.
Yeah, I think she wants to hold it back because she would want to have the uplift of all the work you've done. So that's why I asked, because now's the time to negotiate on that if you're going to negotiate on it. Do you think it could be on the table now?
It can be on the table now, yeah.
Right, excellent, okay. And you didn't answer my question regarding how did you come about the plot? Is it on the market, off the market? How have you found it?
We work with sourcing agent, but this was actually an on-market offer that we went on, for it right away.
Just got it quickly. Yeah.
Got it quickly.
Well done.
Get it fixed, and as I said, exchange of contracts is imminent.
If it's on the market, speed is critical, and
Absolutely.
You've done well there. So, okay, thank you.
So the build cost you've got at 1.8, although that includes some contingency and other things. Can you break that down a little bit for us?
The 1.8 is only the build cost,
okay.
i.e. from the groundworks up. For the rest, I provided in the appendix a breakdown of the fees, because as you've seen in the first page as well, altogether with the SDLT, there are £430,000 allocated to fees, including
SIL,
cost of
community infrastructure
finance,
levy,
cost of sale, and so on and so on.
While we're on the numbers, and thank you for the breakdown, we've got that. But there seem to be two, I'm just a little confused. So on the front page, we have the profit of 780k.
Yeah. Gross profit.
Yeah. And then on page 8, where you've got it split 50-50 between Angel and yourselves, you've got it as 230k each.
Yes, 230k each, which is already profit before tax.
So basically, the 780 is pre-finance profit, right?
Yes, yes.
Which
pre-finance and pre-cost of sales,
pre-tax. I understand you want to know that, but if that's not what we're going to get back, so it's not that much interest. But on the other appendice that we have, you have got kind of the low, medium, and high GDV, and it seems to me, so you've said the 430 or 460 is mid, but this is using the high. It's the high GDV that's used on this calculation.
Yes. High GDV is used in the material, except the pre-tax profit that where I stated the mid range.
And what was the range of that?
430.
No, yeah, that's the mid one. But what's the high and the low?
The high is 530.
Yeah.
And the low is 340.
Now you've explained it sort of to me. I'm like, I feel better off.
Well, I'm better. Yeah.
I think
Paul?
Yeah, I was getting a bit perplexed myself there, but Helen kind of dug a bit deeper.
So look at me.
I think the difficulty with this deal is when you take out those extra bits, which do need to be taken out, you're only at about 10 to 16% profit on GDV, which isn't enough.
No.
You're going to lose money on this deal.
Yeah.
More than likely, you will lose money on this deal with just a 10% profit margin.
The gross profit on cost is 27%.
But that's based on your 780 number,
780,
right?
yes.
But you can't work it out on that because that isn't your total cost.
Property Elevator is proudly sponsored by Crowd Property. Property Elevator is proudly sponsored by Crowd Property.
Got to work it out on 430.
Yes and no. That's my total cost in terms of where variations can happen, like the build cost. Obviously, the interest payment can vary as well if the project is delayed. I accept that. But for that, we will have a long period, to prepare for the build itself, because we will go into planning. It will take up to 12, probably even longer time to get planning. We use our main architect, who we use on other projects in this deal, and we will work with the architect and our QS, to prepare for the tender towards the later stage of the planning. That will help us, to move from planning into build very fast.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll stop you there if I may, because that's going to cost you an awful lot of money. Are you prepared to put at least £100,000 into planning consultancy before you've gained planning into the tender phase?
As I said, we basically take the risk pre-planning.
But you're going to be prepared to not only take the risk of the exchange monies, you're now saying you would be prepared to take the risk for all the work and consultants and design fees to prepare the site for tender before you go in planning. Because I would say that's madness. You shouldn't do that. What you're better off doing is negotiating a contract with a vendor where you have, say, 3 months post-planning gain to complete.
That
would be a safer way of doing it.
We have 2 months post-planning to complete.
Okay, well, that's a good start. I would say 3 months would be safer. 2 would be very tight to get up to a competitive tender stage, especially at this stage in the market where everyone's extremely busy and already deployed on jobs. So given that you haven't exchanged, regardless of what happens today, that would be a good thing to give you some advice on, is to go back and try and get at least 3 months from the planning. There are some good tricks as well, actually, when you are getting that planning through. You don't have to push the council at the final stages for their decision notice. And if you've got a good planning officer, you might better gain a few weeks there. But I'd advise you on that point.
I think that's great advice, Nicholas. Thank you. And combined with your previous advice, to try to negotiate on that land now, we might be able to combine the two and
I agree.
get a 3 months completion period.
Definitely. Yeah. I think, you know, where it's maybe marginal now, with another 2 slices of land, you get all the economies of scale of building the bigger site, where then your overall costs will come down. You're able to tap into larger construction firms that are going to build more than 5 houses, because then you're really looking at more of a local construction firm, and suddenly your costs could come down overall as well. So I think that other piece of land is really worth talking about now.
Nicholas, let's get back. That's fantasy. Let's get back to some reality. The reality is you're going for planning for five houses. So what is on the site at the moment?
Half of it is agricultural land.
Yep.
The other half is ex-commercial land. And for that reason, we will, once we, completed, we will do a soil survey.
That's what you should be doing before you even exchange, in my view. Now, when you say commercial land, what is on it? Is there buildings on it?
There's some building ruins, basically.
Okay, so demolitions required?
No. It's more like removing some remains of walls up to 50 centimeters.
Okay. So
there are no buildings.
No. Okay. So before you exchange, my advice would be to get the soil test done, check the contamination of the land. Archaeological dig, I noticed that there's a possibility of that. I would do a stage 1 desktop study for the archaeological dig, if you haven't done it, to make sure that there's nothing serious in there, because you've got listed buildings close by. I would definitely do those checks before you exchange contracts, whether, Nicholas or whoever else wants to invest. It's so important.
Can I tell you how we manage this in the contract?
Yeah.
So basically, already our offer was subject to surveys.
Right.
So basically, with the contract that we created, we have the right to do these surveys.
Yes, good.
Very soon,
once you've exchanged.
Once we exchange.
Yep.
If certainly, if it finds things that will seriously lower the value of the land because of an expensive remediation reason, then we will be able to either deduct that from the price or walk away from the contract.
In simple terms, what is too much? What is too much? What does it say in the agreement? To your satisfaction, is it? Or to...
It's not written that in such a detail in the contract, but the way we manage it on another site is basically that we found a minor contamination there that requires remediation, and basically we agreed with the seller that he accepts a QS report on the incremental cost of the remediation.
That's fine, but what does this agreement say?
We will then put that into this agreement.
It has to be in. It has to be in, and it needs to be to your satisfaction, because the QS comes up with a price, whatever the survey says. In my view, if there's anything at all, and then the QS props up the price, and then you prove that by having it done, and then that's final price, and that's taken off the value. That's taken off the purchase price, because if not, you could be underwater within quite a short
before
period
you start.
Yeah, so that's really important on any land these days, really, because the contamination, ecology, all these things, and ecology can only be done at certain times of the year as well. So, crested newts and all this other damn silly business.
Worms.
Nitrate neutrality is big now.
Yeah, it's all crazy, but we all have to adhere to it.
Can I ask a question
Ranjan.
about some of the funding? So 500k from angel investors, and there's 220k that you guys are putting in. Can I just ask about the source of that funds? Is that your money or coming from other investors?
That's our money.
Okay, there's no other, because the nature of this pack looks as though it's gone out to a wider audience. Would there be any other investors involved apart from the banks and the angels?
Ranjan, the nature of the pack is because I base this on our standard format for investment memorandum. It was created in the last 3 days, but as I said, it looks like an investment memorandum because I picked parts from our standard investment memorandum. This hasn't gone out to anywhere.
Okay.
It has only come
Fresh.
So you know that
Fresh.
that is
It's fresh
misleading,
from the
though.
printer.
I know, but if you were
Fantastic.
going to do it and you knew it was for here, that page is misleading. So for next time, take that out. So the angels would come in just for the 18 months that you're talking about.
Yes.
So the 29% ROI is for the
on
18
the
months.
on that 18 months.
Yeah.
Yes.
Have you got a long stop to your contract? So if it goes past 12 months
good
for
question.
your planning,
We have the base term for the contract is 18 months.
Good.
And we have a potential six months, extension if there's at that point there's an active planning is in.
So have you got the right to? Have you got the option to appeal should it fail?
Yeah.
You have. Appeals at the moment taking over a year, so you just want to bear that in mind again. But I know if you say to someone, well, you might be 2.5 years before you get your money, it's not an easy sell. I appreciate that.
It's overall 24 months.
Yeah.
And,
I
that
agree.
we have rights for contractual.
Yeah. Okay.
I think you can probably tell by my questions and the point I made before that it's not one for me. I think the overall profit is too tight. So for those reasons, it's not for me.
thank you, Paul.
Yeah, I'm exactly where Paul is on that.
Thank you, Alan.
It's not really my bag, first of all, so there's nothing I can add in terms of value and expertise in this area of building new houses. So for that reason, I'm out. But I do think that you are obviously experienced in this area, and it's no reflection on your credibility and ability to do this. It's just my ability to add value to your proposition.
I understand. Thank you, Ranjan.
When you look at the figures and look at what you're paying for this, it ought to work better than it does. What have you got down as your how much per square foot to build have you put down?
It is £2,100 per square
200
meter. That works out to
210 quid a foot.
200,
Yeah.
200
Okay.
per square foot.
That's very sensible. I like that.
Yep.
I'm doing Nicholas's job for him now, unfortunately, because he's going last. Okay. If I said to you that with what the effort you're putting in and the money you're putting in, we could fund the deal via the bank with me putting in any shortfall, because I don't think there will be a shortfall, to be honest with you. We go to the right bank and the right people and they know me and all the rest of it, hopefully. And I take 50% of the profit, you take 50% of the profit. Would you have an objection to that if I don't have to put any money in myself?
John, I wouldn't have objection because, as I said, I would love to work with you guys. And I was really hoping that at least one of you would see, how to squeeze more juice out of this.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Let me have a think about it while Nicholas carries on.
I like your build cost. It's good to hear someone speaking
Sensible.
on build cost. That's really good. I was hoping you'd go first.
Well, I have gone first, and now I'm left.
So
it
you've
for you.
offered 50-50.
I am thinking about it.
You're accepting
I'm not.
his
No,
offer.
I'm thinking about it. I haven't made a decision.
You haven't made an offer.
No, I'm waiting for you.
Oh.
Are we allowed to make
I
offers
can't
in
take
two
the
parts?
tension
That was part
between
one.
these.
Yeah, that was a bit cheeky,
Two
wasn't
part offer.
Nick's going to have a go, and then you're going to go for part two.
What's the next instalment of John's offer?
I said I'm just thinking about. I'm just thinking about.
Well,
it.
I think people that are thinking about it are not fully behind the people they're looking to invest in. I'm fully behind you and your business. I think you've got an excellent business. I'd love to work with you. I'd love to work with you on more than this site. And to be honest, I'd like to hear about your other site as well. And I'm going to offer you a share of 60-40 in your favour as a business offer to come into your business as an advisory shareholder. And I'm pretty sure we can maximise and squeeze everything out of this and try and buy the site next door and potentially maximise any other site you do in the future. So that's my offer.
Thank you, Paul. John, I was told that you live close to that site.
Well, I'm Suffolk, so I am pretty close. You're quite right.
My parents live in Kent. I'm there all the time. So.
Okay, this is my offer. 50-50 on the basis that I don't believe we'll have to put any further cash into the deal once you've got planning. If we do, I'll look into doing that, and we go 50-50. And it's a given that if you come up with another deal that works, got a joint venture fund and so on, we can do it within that or whatever else anyway. And we get to know each other. So that's my offer. So my offer is 50-50. Nicholas is more generous. His offer is 60-40. And, you know, we are competitors in today, but I have to say that Nicholas is very good at this type of structuring this type of deal and doing this type of thing. I'm more straightforward in as much that there's the deal, that's what we do. There's two offers, or obviously the opportunity, you know, you may not want to take either offer, you might want to...
is there a way to merge the two worlds?
Is there a way to merge the two? No, I don't share.
No, you don't share.
John doesn't share.
Can I go to the wall?
Of course you can. You're very welcome to.
Take your time.
Thomas, take as long as you want, as long as you come up with the right decision.
John, I would like to work with you on projects in the future, but at this time, I would like to accept Nicholas's offer.
Great, fantastic.
Great, well done.
Well done.
Thank you, Nicholas.
Looking forward to working with you. That was the first time I was nervous waiting for an answer.
I wouldn't have thought that's the first time you've been nervous waiting for an answer, to be fair, Nicholas, in your life. With all due respect, personal or otherwise. No, well done, Nicholas.
Thank you.
Through gritted teeth, I have to say yet again, but there we go.
I'm very pleased with that one.
So Thomas, good news, bad news?
Good news.
Great.
I got two offers and I accepted Nicholas's offer.
Fantastic. Who else was the other offer from?
John,
Okay.
John, and I would love to work with John as well on a deal sometime.
Yep.
Hopefully that will happen.
Yep.
But Nicholas's offer was unbeatable.
Was it? Too good to refuse.
Too good to refuse.
Fantastic.
Property Elevator is proudly sponsored by Crowd Property. Property Elevator is proudly sponsored by Crowd Property.
Oliver, it's great to have you here with us today.
Hi Lizzie, thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Tell us where you've come from today.
So I've come from Harpenden, which is in Hertfordshire, not too far from where we are today. Yes, so the deal is a light industrial warehouse. At the moment it's disused, so it's a commercial to residential conversion. We're looking to build 3 flats there. It already has planning permission in place.
Okay, great. And how much investment are you after?
We need probably around £800,000 from an investor. Purchase price is 1.6. And we're looking at around a 20% return on GDV.
Okay, all right. Well, fingers crossed for you. We'll get you in now and I'll have a little chat to you when you get out.
We're now going to London, I think, with Oliver. He's got this deal which looks like a warehouse conversion. I think there's a basement involved and a roof to come off. 2 things I don't like hearing personally, but...
really? I thought it just needed a lick of paint.
Yeah, well, a bit more than that, I think, Ranjan. Let's get Oliver in, shall we?
Yeah.
Oliver, thank you very much for coming in today. A very interesting looking scheme, and one that I think I saw towards the end of last year myself. So it'd be interesting to see what your take is on it.
Okay.
Over to you.
Thank you very much. Hi everyone, my name's Oliver Taylor. I am from Harpenden, which is not too far from here. I've brought today a deal which is a commercial to residential conversion. It's a light industrial warehouse in London. I'm looking today for around £800,000, depending on what financing options we go for. The conversion already has full planning permission in place, and we're looking to build 3 flats in the existing building.
Okay, and what's the purchase price, Oliver?
So the purchase price is 1.6 million.
Yep.
It was on the market for 1.8 million when I first saw it last year. The price has now been reduced to 1.6. I have actually made offers in the past below that price, which have unfortunately not been accepted. So the figures that I've looked at today and worked on are on the basis of the 1.6 million purchase price, which, based on last minute financing numbers which I received today, the numbers stack up. I'm sure if they don't, you'll let me know.
The GDV is?
So the GDV, so there's a few different GDVs that you may see in there. There's a GDV which is about 4.5 million, which has been provided by a local agent. I mean, they're obviously usually going to be quite optimistic. I've had financing offers in principle from a few lenders which are in the pack as well. I think there's about 4 lenders in there that have offered to lend, and they've given it a GDV of 4.1. I've also had QS run the numbers and look at it, who is the most conservative of people. So you would like to think that worst case scenario, his numbers will be where it's coming in, and that's just over 4 million.
Okay, and build costs?
So the build costs are about 1.1 million, and then with fees and SIL and stamp duty, etc., we're looking at about 1.3, 1.35.
Okay, so the total that you're going to spend will be?
We're looking at about 2.950.
And your resales are 4.1 to 4.5?
Correct.
Okay, lovely, that's good, thank you. Nicholas, what do you think?
Well, the address is Waldo Works, Waldo Road.
Yes.
Got to ask, where's Waldo? What a name, that's brilliant. In terms of your build cost, what sort of price per square foot are you basing that off, please? Or, and what's the size of the site?
The site, I'll have to consult my pack.
I'd have thought, Oliver, with all due respect, you'd know the square footage of the site. Or why am I being unkind?
Is it 1735? Is it that on that one?
There is, yes. So the current site is 1735. Yes,
okay,
correct.
Yep.
But are you building? How many floors are you building?
So we'll be building. There's a basement excavation, which will become a lower ground floor.
Right.
And then there will be a ground floor, a first floor, and a second floor. So we're building 2 floors up and 1 down.
Right. Okay.
So what is the total square footage you're building?
To be honest, John, I don't know that number off the top of my head.
I am slightly bemused here. We've got a sort of warehouse-looking project. We're going to excavate and make a basement.
Yes.
Underpin. We're going to add take the roof off and add another floor. Why not knock the whole thing down? Why hasn't that been considered?
So I'm
keeping.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm not an experienced developer. I've only started looking into development and property last year, so it's been about a 7-month journey for me. These are things that I'm sure you're bringing to the table. I know, Ranjan, you've quite a lot of experience in this. I've simply taken plans that are in place and just applied the things that I've learned, or like to think I've learned, over the last 7 months. If there's a better angle, then I'm all ears, and that would be fantastic.
I think probably that on this one, Ranjan, I would imagine, is it in a conservation area?
I don't believe it is in a conservation area.
I'll be. They probably inquired. Maybe they've inquired about knocking it down. It's a no-go.
I would imagine
it's quite an old building, isn't it?
The one next door was most likely done when this was permitted development, and now it's not.
Right.
So that's a different issue. The other I wanted to ask you about is the planning. So you're looking at a site with existing planning permission. It's been kicking around for some time. When does the planning? Because you have to you have to start the planning permission in 3 years. How long has it got?
Yeah. So the planning permission, I believe, would have lapsed in 2017. However, I've had confirmation from the vendor that they have actually broken ground, and it's been confirmed. So the vendor employed a company to oversee the breaking of the ground, and we've had relevant notice from the council saying that the planning permission is active.
That's the key.
That's the key. Well done. That's the key.
For that.
So many people say they're broken ground, and went that old. I say that old chestnut because that's what everyone says.
Might as well have broken wind.
You might as well have broken wind, because when you go check with the council, oh no, we've got no record of it, but they've done it right, so that's good. That's good. But it just shows you how long this has been knocking around, and you have to ask yourself, why has it been knocking around so long? And maybe it's a great opportunity now because it's come down in price, and you know, everything gets sold in the end. And sometimes you either best to be really early in the deal before everyone knows about it, or very late when everyone's looked at it and forgotten about it. So, you know, I think we need to keep an open. Personally, I'm keeping an open mind so far, Oliver, and you've done well. So
the answer I think, John, is that it's so close to the train line, and those inherent problems of a warehouse building that's not very solid, probably in the first place, noise and vibration and all the rest of it. Are there any? Is there any railway land immediately adjacent to this site that you have to get any permissions or easements over to get, say, services to the site? Do you know?
I don't know the answer to that question, no.
Okay, because that could be a problem. That would certainly be something to ask the agent. Are they aware of any issues with, I forget is it Network Rail, I guess, would it be, as to exactly how close their land is? Because that can, and actually when you are within a certain proximity to railways, I've not done one myself, but I know people that have, and it gets very complicated. You still have to ask for all these permissions from the railway, which can take months and months and months to get. Even though you're working in your own land, if you're next to the railway, you still have to apply for certain permissions. So that would be something to explore, because that would be a massive deal breaker. Possibly has been the deal breaker to date. That's my hunch. Doesn't rule it out, but it's just something to be very aware of.
Paul?
Yeah, so given that the end sort of square footage is a bit uncertain, do you have a rough idea of, so the build cost is just over 1.1 million or thereabouts. Where's that figure come from?
So that figure's come directly from my QS.
Okay.
Okay, so we assume that's correct.
Fair enough.
But do you know what he's based it on? Do you know the pound per square foot for the area?
I don't know the exact answer to that. Over the last several months, I've been trying to get myself into property. I've been networking, I've been meeting people, making connections.
I believe you've read a couple of good books as well.
I've read some good books. I've seen some all right YouTube videos as well.
It's good and bad out. Put it this way,
Ranjan's also got a YouTube video.
Oh, right.
You've seen some great YouTube videos.
Yeah, good ones on
Oliver, can I just say there's good and bad out there?
Yeah. Okay. So it's been a journey I've been going through.
Yeah.
I did a bit of training with some people, and I've had some people who have kind of taken me under their wing a bit to give me some mentorship.
Good.
And one of them is this QS. So I'm not paying him for services. He's been kind enough to give me some of his time to look over sites that I've been working on myself. So he's just given me these headline figures, so I don't know the exact breakdown.
Oliver, that's absolutely fine, and well done you for doing it the right way and not spending a fortune on education and all the rest of it.
But you really do need to know your comparables. Like you need to
work out the GDV.
To work out your GDV, but also to make sure you're comparing oranges and oranges, not apples and oranges. And actually, if you knew that, that would answer my question, which I don't think you're going to be able to answer. Like you've gone with the existing planning permission, which I assume is for the 3 flats.
Yes.
That's existing.
Yes.
Okay, because at a 4-ish mil GDV, that's 1.3 million per flat, right? That's a very big flat.
If I had 1.3 million spend, I wouldn't be buying
Well,
an extra railway.
To be fair, they're almost, although they are called flats, probably called flats because they've got no outside space, but actually they're more like terrace houses, aren't they?
I know, but even if you use the whole footage per floor of 1,700, I mean, that's still an awful lot of money to be paid. That's a high pound per square foot next to a railway line. And I think if you knew kind of what the pound per square foot it was comparable per 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, what have you, you'd be able to maximise or work out what you should be building there instead of 3 flats, because I don't think 3 flats is going to maximise your profit on this.
Is that a square footage?
Yes.
We've got it then.
We've got it, yeah.
That spreadsheet is an agent's valuation.
You've got the square footage and you've got the valuations.
But the square footages are right.
Square footages are right of the flats that are going to be built.
So it's, I can't quite make sense of it, but it says 2916, 1420 and 990. Is that one massive one?
Yes.
One kind of massive one?
Yes.
And one less massive one?
What's the total?
Yes.
Right, fair enough.
You're good at maths, Paul. What's the total?
It's about
5,300.
Yeah.
Roughly.
About 5,500.
Okay, so the build costs were in at about £200 a foot, but that includes the basement. The basement is probably double the rest of it in terms of cost. So, but you've had a QS do it, and if that's what the QS thinks, we have to go with that. He's the expert. He's the one who quantified that, you know, used all his experience to quantify the values of everything. So, okay, and we got the sale figures off an agent as well. So you have got all the square footages.
Yeah,
So
sorry, I just didn't
that's
have
good.
the total added up.
No, don't. Well, that's fine.
And my mental math is nowhere near as good as yours.
Paul's a very bright man and he's done it for you.
But the total of those adds up to 4.65. So either those GDVs are over.
So these GDVs
Not as
are
bright as
provided
Helen.
by the agent.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
So
so you were analysing his numbers there, I thought, yeah.
Helen, the GDVs on the spreadsheet are provided by the agent,
Okay, so that's
which is a
what you were saying,
separate
exactly.
GDV to what my QS has given. So all the numbers that I've given to you on the summary of the headline figures are the figures given by the QS, which should be the worst case scenario figures, rather than the maybe more optimistic
They are
agent
normally
figures.
are with the QS. They're pretty negative lot. Yeah.
I'd be interested to know, because these flats are very expensive for, you know, for this part of London. I mean, you've got one flat that's 2.5 million.
Yes.
That's a huge, I mean, Knightsbridge kind of stuff you can buy. When you're developing flats at that sort of level, let's assume those GDVs are correct. And the spec, it's not a basic kitchen. You know, you're spending 50 grand on the kitchen minimum, underfloor heating, you've got fancy doors and not basic doors and stuff like that. So I would have liked to have seen a bit more breakdown on the costs.
Sure.
The build costs, because obviously the basement is a huge chunk.
Sure.
But there's also a much higher spec that's required to get anything like those values.
Sure.
You know, just the lighting and control systems and fancy tech and all of that is much more than a standard electrics.
Yeah.
So it would have been interesting to see that, because I'm not sure that is, I accept that the QS has done a job, but I'm not sure what his brief was as to the kind of spec for those 3 flats.
Property Elevator is proudly sponsored by Crowd Property. Property Elevator is proudly sponsored by Crowd Property.
It feels to me like the person that's put this in is trying to keep this under a certain social housing requirement of, I think it's under 4 flats is a much lower threshold for Section 106 payments, things like that. And that feels like why they've done so smaller units. You know, if you go up to 9 or 10 units, you'd be paying much higher Section 106 payments. So it's almost as if they've tried to artificially inflate the GDV by doing that smaller,
but they've
big
created
units.
something that you're not going to be able to sell.
No.
Like even if you take, you know, you go with your QS's numbers, so your 2.5 mil flat ends up 2.25 for a ground floor and a basement next to a train line. You're at £770 per square foot. I don't know who's going to buy that.
Yeah, effectively based on those numbers, both the basement, level 1 and level 2 are all the same price.
And I think Helen has hit the nail on the head. I am always suspicious of when someone's got a planning application, it hasn't been implemented, and people have just broke ground or whatever just to keep it going. Why not?
All that time.
And is it because what they've got planning for is just not worth implementing?
Not viable.
Yeah.
Because either it's too costly or they're in a market for the finished product.
Yeah.
And I'm not convinced.
Okay.
Of that bit.
I do appreciate that's obviously a very valid point. I mean, I've been speaking to the agent for some time now, and the vendor is, and this is just coming through the agent, so you know, maybe take it with a pinch of salt. But the vendor is a developer himself, bought this to develop for himself, and he has in the last couple of years come under ill health and isn't able to now complete the development, which is why he's looking to sell. That's what I'm being told.
Because of the planning commission,
I think he's ill with the worry of it all.
Quite possibly.
I have to say, I've heard that excuse on many occasions, along with a few others. And it may well be true, appreciate that, and I'm very sorry to hear if it is true. But I think, you know, you are entering a world of property business. It's an industry, it's a business, and you have to treat it as such. And sadly, you can't always believe what everyone says to you. And it may well be that the whole of this needs to be rejigged, in my view, looked at again with different eyes to see whether you can get 6 units in there, not 3. That way, you know, the risk is less in terms of, you know, if you don't sell the big one at 2.5 million, you're really stuck. If you've got 6 and you can't sell one of them, you know, you can potentially rent it and get a decent yield on it because it hasn't cost you so much. And remember, all the time we're trying to, and it might sound strange to people listening to the show, but all the time we are looking to de-risk what we do before we purchase it.
Yep.
And people tend to think that we're, you know, ballsy and we're out there buying and without checking everything. My goodness, look at this lady here. She knows how to check things. And the rest of us may sound quite more relaxed than Helen. Helen's on the figures like crazy. But actually, ultimately, we all check everything very thoroughly. We might look more relaxed about it and so on, but I can tell you now, there isn't one of us along here that takes big risks.
Mm-hmm.
We don't do it. And I think for me, this is a big risk. And unfortunately, it isn't for me today.
Okay, thank you.
I'll follow that. Yeah, look, I think you've done great seeking it out. You've done all the right things, speaking with the right people. You've got the, you know, various different sort of quotes on the GDV and all the rest, which is great. Would have been nice to know the figures a little bit better, obviously, but you know that already. You know, and I think the path you're on is the right one, and I'd love to work with you on that path. I think I'd be a good partner for working with you on that path, but not on this project, because, you know, I agree. Like, the cash it needs and the amount of problems you're probably going to run into, and therefore the time it's going to take, and therefore that money probably, you know, a higher risk of that money being lost, given that it's all using finance. You know, those finance costs are going to rack up and rack up and rack up, and I just don't think it's, you know, I don't think these figures are right so far as, you know, in fact, I think the agent has just been a bit silly with these figures, you know, valuing the basement at the same as the level 2 flat. It's just ridiculous. Yeah. So he's led you astray a little bit there. Yeah. So yeah, for that reason, I don't think this is the project for you. You shouldn't be doing this for your first project anyway, you know, and the fact that everyone on the panel kind of agrees that it's a bit high risk sort of justifies that. So I don't think this one isn't for me, but would certainly like to keep in touch.
But Paul, we haven't heard from Nicholas yet.
But yeah, well, we'll see.
He might change he might have a different opinion to everyone else. Who knows?
Just to summarise some of the points, this is a 2 to 3 year project in my view. When you're financing it, that's very, very costly. And also, when you're developing the end products in terms of these flats, in terms of GDVs, are so out of kilter with the comparables. It's very, very difficult to see what the market is. You really want to be developing a product like a 1-2 bedroom flat where there are plenty of them around to compare them to. And I think for your first project, you really want to be looking where you can make 3 flats out of an existing envelope of a building. Yeah. No external changes. And in the time it would take you to do this, you'd do 3 or 4 of those. Yeah,
I agree.
And turn your money much more.
Yeah. Bit ambitious to start with. For me, it's too ambitious to start with.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I mean, if I could add, so there is a property that we're in the process of buying, which is down the road from here on Chamberlain Road, which is just off of where that Kensal Green station is, which is a 5-bedroom house on 3 floors. The QS who I'm talking to you about, we've looked at that. I found the site. I valued it, and we're actually looking to split that into flats. It's on the High Street, and when we looked at it initially, or I looked at it, I saw on Street View that the property 2 doors down had a roof extension. So I spoke to the QS and we spoke to an architect, and we're very confident that we would get a roof extension. So we're actually trying to convert that into 4 separate flats on each floor. Yep. So we do have comparables in the area based on the research we did of that, albeit these are much smaller flats and different to that. The offer was accepted and we're in the process of buying it now. So we haven't actually started.
Sounds like you should have bought that deal. Helen?
I agree with everything the guys have said. I think with the right person, you could make this work if you went back to scratch I don't think that person is me. I don't have appetite to work through this and handhold, but I do think there's a deal to be done on it if you know and you get the right product for that market. And it's going to have to be priced so keenly. Forget what the agents say. If you're next to a train line, I mean, you're going to have to price it discounted. You just are.
I think the one trick I always think is, would I live there?
Yeah.
Would you live there?
Well, I haven't got 2.5 million, so no.
No, but would you, if you had 2.5 million, would you live there? Would you live somewhere else?
Possibly not, no.
I mean, we've covered a lot of points. I think I'm not going to go over those.
Good.
It would take me too long to correct all of John's errors. So,
very good,
very good, very good.
What I will offer you, I'm going to make you an offer. If you can do a JV with the landowner, I'll work with you in it. You and I can do it 50-50, and I can help you get the funding for the development finance. But we'd need the vendor on board to put the land in, essentially, because that de-risks it. You know, I don't want to put in 800 grand on this. As the guys have mentioned, it's going to take far too long, far too cost. The interest kills it, apart from anything else. It needs a redesign. It needs to go back to planning. It needs to get smaller unit. We need to speak to National Rail or Network Rail, whoever is the relevant rail authority next door. If we can solve all those problems over a couple of year period with the vendor on board, they can have a share of the profit. It might be 33% each of the profit. I'd be very interested in working with you on that basis. That may be highly unlikely, but it's been on the market a long time. You seem to have a relationship with the agents. It may be an opportunity. So if that sounds of interest, I'd love to have a crack at it. I like challenges, but not where I'm risking 800 grand to challenges. So that's my offer if you'd like to think about it.
Yes, I really appreciate that, and I would like to accept. Thank you.
Fantastic. Right. Great stuff. Let's hope we can negotiate it with the vendor.
Thank you very much.
Could be a silver lining in that one.
There's a reason why they've done this duplex flat on the basement and the ground. A lot of these London councils insist on a family-sized unit on the ground floor. So that's why you can go in night and day, but it's in their policies. They'll never give you 4 flats.
I take that as red rag to a bull, Ranjan.
See,
you love a challenge.
I'll be keeping an eye.
But you see the difference between you, Ranjan, and Nicholas. Nicholas is optimistic and positive. You today have been...
He must have been an estate agent.
He probably was in his day. You, on the other hand, today have been rather negative, I feel.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think so.
All
and
realistic.
I'm surprised at that. All realistic.
And the vendor needs to be
Well, the
involved.
one thing I will say,
the right
Nicholas,
eyes.
is you can now prove to the council that it's been on the market a long time. You can actually
Exactly.
prove
Yeah.
that what is built isn't, what is potentially got planning for
yeah.
is not possible to do. So that's the one thing that he has got in his favour. And he's
possible to
and
do, not
also
sell.
Nicholas is very bright. That's the other thing he's got.
One thing
So-
I've just realised, which we would need to check, and I don't know if any of you guys know this, I don't.
Expect so. Go on.
Because they've broken ground, does that solidify the existing planning?
No, it protects it, but the fact they haven't been able to get the deal built, to me, would be a good reason for going back to the planners.
Because it's not implemented, it's just started.
yeah.
So you could
This
get a new planning.
isn't acceptable.
Yeah,
We
good
can't
point.
do
Yep,
it.
yep.
It's not possible to create homes like you've given planning for. We need to do something different.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
I think you might have an angle there.
You can create them, you can't sell them, but exactly redoing it's the way forward.
Well done,
With the
Nicholas.
vendors on site.
Drinks
Happy
are on
days.
you yet again.
Oliver, so tell me how it went.
Yeah, it went really well, thank you.
Good, congratulations.
Thank
Was there
you.
a deal done?
There is a potential deal on the table, yeah. Nick offered to look at doing a joint venture with the vendor,
Okay.
if that's possible. But Nick has said, you know, if we can do a joint venture with the vendor, then that de-risks the whole situation, so he's happy to make that offer to me.
Brilliant, so you can explore it further,
Yes.
see how you get on over the next few weeks and go from there.
Yes,
Oh, well, good luck and congratulations.
thank you very much.
And I hope it's the start of an exciting property career for you.
Thank you.
Well, it's been a great day here at Property Elevator. That's all we've got time for though. We'll see you next time.
Property Elevator is proudly sponsored by Crowd Property.